are delighted to bring you both quantity and quality, and with me are a pint and a half of best, Joe Lycett. 2 heaped spoonfuls of delicious, Bridget Christie. 6 yards of finest, James Acaster. And a shed load of Alan Davis with bells on. Their buzzers emphasise quantities over qualities. Joe goes...
0, 1, 2.
Bridget goes...
3, 4, 5.
James goes...
6, 7, 8.
Alan goes...
9, 9, 9.
Right, QI are thinking of starting a high-quality airline, but we don't have the quantity of money required. What cost-saving measures could we take?
How much are trains?
Say you still wanted to go in the airline business.
How much would it cost to put wings on a train?
There are driverless trains, perhaps don't have pilots or stewards.
Gliders.
Right, why?
No fuel costs.
Well, it is fuel that we want to save. We want to help the environment, you want to save money and so on. So here's an extraordinary thing.
No passengers.
Well, you want the passengers...
Or luggage.
You want the passengers to be as light as possible.
Skinny people with no bags.
Are you allowed to advertise that?
Yes. In 2013, Samoa Air were the very first airline to charge passengers according to their own weight. Yeah,
they did it.
Yeah, they had to pay 1 Samoan talas, that's roughly sort of 29, 30p, for every kilo that they and their luggage weighed.
Wow.
But the actual plane, you can save money on the actual plane. I know it sounds very strange, but white planes are more efficient than dark planes.
What?
Yeah. Lighter paint is literally lighter. Dark paint on an aeroplane can add the equivalent weight of 8 passengers. You look, James, as though you don't believe me.
Well, it does sound like a lie.
Why might dark paint be heavier, do you think?
Because it's evil.
Dark paint is heavier because it has more pigments.
More pigments. More
Yeah.
pigments.
Yeah.
I was going to say pigment.
I was going to say pigment.
I was going to say, but I was allowing
All right,
you...
children, all right. So, if you look at a plane, you'll see most of them are of a lighter colour.
Why paint it at all?
So that is the other option, is that you could polish it. However, you do need to wash it more often to offset corrosion, if you've just polished it. And white paint would be cheaper, because actually the money you'd save on fuel, you would spend on washing. So those are your
It sounds like a
choices.
headache, really. I'm not going to open a air flight business.
Are you not? But it's amazing where you can save money. So in 2018, United Airlines switched to lighter paper for the in-flight magazine, all right? They saved 1 ounce per copy. Doesn't seem like very much at all. But it's £11 saved for a full flight. You multiply that by the whole fleet over a single year, you have saved 170,000 gallons of fuel worth $290,000. Just a single ounce of paper on each individual in-flight magazine. The airline's beverage cart now weighs half what the old ones used to weigh. They've stopped duty-free sales in many instances.
Well, I've picked a few already you can get rid of. That little tiny tray that the other trays are in,
Yes.
why does that exist? I mean, all of the food can go because it looks shit.
I noticed on a flight I was on recently that they weren't showing Ocean's 11, but they were showing Ocean's 8, so that's 3 people.
That's 3 straight away. In the 1980s, there was a man called Robert Crandall. He was then head of American Airlines, and he removed just 1 olive from every single salad served to their customers. Nobody noticed, and they saved $40,000 a year.
Yeah, but I bet he was fatter at the end of it. If he's popping an olive from everyone's plate in every plane, that's having some effect. I'm no scientist.
No, clearly.
You could say no hats. No one could really get annoyed if you said no hats.
There's a lot of screws in a plane as well. I reckon a couple of those.
The Japanese airline called All Nippon Airways, in 2009, they asked passengers to visit the loo before boarding. They calculated that a full 767 could hold 240 pounds of urine inside its passengers, and if everybody boarded with an empty bladder, they calculated they could reduce carbon emissions by 5 tonnes over the course of a month.
Is that man doing a selfie while he's there?
We should move on. How can you make money from fresh air?
Catch it in the net.
Separate it into its component parts and then sell those.
You don't need to. You can just sell fresh air. So, in 2015, there was a man called Moses Lamb. He lived in Edmonton, Canada, and as a joke, he sold a bag, there he is, a bag of fresh Canadian air on eBay for 99 cents. It went, and when the bids for the second bag got to 168 Canadian dollars, he thought, might be onto something here. He gave up his job as a mortgage broker, and now he sells Canadian Rockies air. That is what he does for a living.
In jars?
Yeah, a single 8-litre bottle costs $24 US. His company, Vitality, has sold over 200,000 units, often to countries with very low air quality, so he sells them to China and India and South Korea and so on. And if Canadian air sounds pricey, you could have Swiss mountain air. That's only £17, roughly, a can.
How can you prove that it's from there?
Well, you just have to believe, Bridget. You can buy some good old British air if you prefer. You don't want to buy air from abroad. You can buy air from Yorkshire, from Wiltshire, from Wales. There's a company called Ether. The company's founder, Leo de Watts, he has coined the term air farming. There he is.
He looks exactly like I thought he would.
It's completely pure air. It is actually collected in Somerset or wherever he happens to be. It's just scooped up and sealed.
It's just a lot of money for a jar, isn't it, really?
Yeah. Now, because we like to really go the full extra mile for you, all our elves have been all over the world collecting for you special fresh air. They haven't been opened. So, Jo, would you want to open yours, darling, and see where you think that comes from?
Wigan.
Our elf James on the right there, collecting from Slovenia. James? What are you getting? Notes
A jar.
It's just a jar.
Heavy notes of jar.
It's come the furthest, actually, though.
Really? Brazil.
It's come from Tasmania. That is Anna leaping there to collect air from Tasmania.
Smells less fresh than the studio does.
Is it?
I'm actually going to capture some studio air, and this will be available on eBay when the show goes out. QI Air.
Mine is unmistakably Scottish Highlands. What have you got, Bridget?
Sorry, are we're seriously... I'm very good at smells.
OK.
When I was pregnant, my husband was out, and when he came back in, I said, have you been eating nice and spicy flavoured knickknacks? And he said, no, but there was a bag in the room that I was in.
Oh, what?
That doesn't smell good. That smells very greasy to me.
OK, yours comes from the Canary Islands. That's Mike collecting it in... These are genuine pictures. Right, Alan, yours.
Ooh.
What?
Someone pumped in there.
Yours comes from Hudson Bay, but we didn't have the money to go all the way to Hudson Bay, so it's a pub in West Ham. So there it is, the Hudson Bay. Which country do you think has the best air quality in the world?
Britain.
Oh, that's so sweet and loyal and so wrong. So unbelievably wrong.
It's going to be Iceland.
It's going to be Scandi, isn't it, for sure?
Finland.
Finland, it is absolutely right. It is Finland, indeed. Followed by, of course, the usual suspects, all the Scandis, Iceland, Sweden, and then Estonia and Norway. The UK is 25th after Singapore, and just one place ahead of Oman.
Sweden were really high, and they still have really good air. But they've dropped down the list because in these countries that have lots of snow, they have tyre spikes so that they're not all sliding around, and they're digging up the tarmac, which is causing some toxic, and they have to sort it out.
Can't even stop yourself slipping on the road. No. Unbelievable. Worst quality air in the world. Anybody have a guess?
I went to Delhi and the air was black.
Yeah, it's Kanpur in Uttar Pradesh.
Is it?
Nicknamed the Manchester of India. Worst place for pollution in London?
The North Circular.
It's actually the Underground. Yeah.
Is it?
They did a study at the University College London in 2001. They found the air quality in carriages was 73 times worse than at street level. So if you take one single 20-minute journey on the Northern Line, you might as well have had a fag. It's the iron oxide particles caused by the grinding of the wheels and the rails as the trains brake. So it is about the most dangerous place, in fact, to breathe in the whole of London. It's upset everybody in the room.
Half these people came on the Northern Line.
Well, we're lucky if they get through the evening. So here's an extraordinary thing. Speaking of air in jars, there's a place called the Henry Ford Museum. It's in Michigan. It has a test tube which purports to contain Thomas Edison's last breath. There he is. The label reads, Thomas Edison was Henry Ford's hero as well as his friend. During Edison's final illness, this test tube was close to his bedside. Upon his death, it was sealed with paraffin wax. Edison's son Charles later sent his father's last breath to Henry Ford, knowing their close relationship.
I mean, that's a weird thing to do, isn't it?
It is a very,
Hang
very...
on, mate. Is this the last one?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Also, if you just go, OK, I'm going to get the last one. Oh, he's still breathing. Just keep doing it.
The second to last breath.
You wouldn't want that when you were dying, would you? Somebody just trying to... No.
Last thing you see is a test tube in your face and
Yeah.
the eager eyes of a relative.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
No, I'm with you on that one, James. Quite right. Now, why might it be a bad idea to remove all the dead wood from the Houses of Parliament? So many answers, so little time.
Is it something to do with the gunpowder?
Yes,
plot
I think
or
the gunpowder plot. I'm with Bridget.
No.
No, it's nothing to do with that.
It's later than the gunpowder plot.
Later.
Well, we are talking about 1834. Up until 1826, the Palace of Westminster kept all its financial records on something called tally sticks. So you had a stick and you split it in two when you issued a debt, and when the payment was made, the two sticks were tied back together again. Wow. But eventually, of course, paper records superseded the need for these, and now they'd got a lot of old wood, so they decided to get rid of it. The obvious idea was to burn it. So on the 16th of October, 1834, the clerk of the works, who's in various records called Mr. Wibbly or Mr. Woobley, he ordered 2 cartloads of these tally sticks to be
Mr.
burnt.
Wibbly Wobbly?
Mr. Wobbly Wobbly, yes.
Mr. Wibbly Wobbly, get rid of the sticks. Don't work with them, Mr. Wibbly Wobbly.
Rid of the sticks you want?
It was just like that.
Like Christopher Butterslip.
Yes. I've got a character act called Christopher Butterslip.
He drops everything, doesn't he, Christopher Butterslip?
Yes, he's got very slippery fingers, and his his catchphrase is, whoopsie plops!
What's his job, Christopher Butterslip?
Oh, he's an auctioneer.
That's fantastic. This Ming vase. Yeah. So Mr. Wibbly Wobbly decided to burn 2 cartloads of these tally sticks in the basement staves at the Palace of Westminster, and the resulting fire burnt down both the House of Lords and the House of Commons.
What an idiot, Mr. Wibbly Wobbly.
Didn't feel good about it.
He should have known.
Yeah.
What have I done?
Who did you entrust this job to? Now, don't get angry. It better not have been Mr. Wibbly Wobbly.
So the chimneys had not been properly maintained. In those days, we're still talking about children going up chimneys, and they had cut footholds into them. There was a lot of residue, and the copper linings of the chimneys actually caught fire, and it spread eventually to the entire wooden interior of Parliament, and there was no fire brigade at the time. So everything was run by the insurance company. It took 5 hours for the fire boat to get to the House of Parliament because the tide was wrong. It was the largest fire since 1666. What? Turner painted several canvases of the disaster, and Constable, too, sketched it sitting in a handsome cab on Westminster Bridge.
Did they have to rebuild the whole shebang?
Yes, that's when we get the designs that we have today, with Charles Barry and Pugin.
Big Ben and everything?
Big Ben and everything, yeah. So
wow.
Well, apart from Westminster Hall was saved, so parts of it are 1,000 years old or more, and it only was saved because the wind changed. And so I know. So here's a supplementary question. How did the fire, the one at the Houses of Parliament, affect the length and breadth of Trafalgar Square?
Oh. It hadn't been built yet.
That's
a good answer.
Even if that's wrong, that's a good answer.
Yeah.
I like it.
So apart from the tally sticks and all the stuff in Parliament that was destroyed, the very objects which defined the imperial standards of measurement were lost. So it meant that you had no way of ultimately deciding the length of something, yes?
There's a bronze plaque of all the weights and measures in Trafalgar Square.
You get an extra point. There is indeed such a plaque, and you can see it today. A mathematician and astronomer called Sir George Airy. He was charged with creating these new objects. They wanted to make sure that this could never happen again, so the standards were triplicated. So today you can find them in the Great Hall of the Guildhall by the gate of the Royal Observatory in Greenwich, and as you quite rightly said, embedded in the granite at Trafalgar Square. So if you are facing the National Portrait Gallery, there's a sort of cafe and a bench, and actually it's slightly hidden, and most people probably don't even notice that it is there.
My child found it and said, "What's that?" And I went, "I don't know."
I don't know, shut up.
You absolute nerd.
Trafalgar Square was being built at the time, so it opened in 1844, so it was being built at the time. Now, what is the heaviest reading material in the universe?
Oh, something by Dan Brown.
Is it slate?
Is it slate?
Yeah, because people used to write on slate, didn't they, in school, and slate's very heavy.
Yeah. But this is an actual book. It's a book available online.
Oh.
It is called Googleplex Written Out. It is exactly as it sounds. It is one of the largest numbers ever named, and it is available in print. Well, it is theoretically available in print. So let's just go through what the numbers are. So a Google is 1 followed by 100 zeros, and it looks like this, OK? A Googleplex is 1 followed by a Google of zeros, and it is impossible to write down a Googleplex because there are fewer particles in the universe than actually there are zeros in a Googleplex. However, somebody wanted to write out Googleplex, a man called Wolfgang Nietzsche, and this is just 1 volume that is available to you. It has an ISBN, proper international standard book number, but obviously no ISBN has been assigned to the individual volumes since the total number of volumes would exceed the number of available ISBNs. It is literally just zeros. It is just...
Sandy?
Yes?
I'm really sorry.
Yeah.
But the last time I was on this show...
Yes.
Do you remember that I said I had something called triophobia, where I can't look at...
I can't look at holes, can you?
Can't look at holes.
Oh, this is a disaster for you.
It's fucking...
I feel really...
I've got this condition, right, and it makes me feel like fainting and getting sick and gives me a headache.
Yeah.
You can't look at lots of circles that are close together.
OK, so I feel really bad. The person who named it was a man called Edward Kasner. Perhaps we have a picture of him. There he is. There's hardly any zeros.
Oh, it's horrible.
Yeah, it's OK. Here's the thing. If you were to start to count to a Googleplex at 2 digits per second, the universe would end before you could finish. That's it.
The EastEnders would carry on.
EastEnders would carry on. If you wanted to count to 1 billion, it would take you 15 years, 308 days, 9 hours, 41 minutes and 50 seconds. Isn't that fantastic?
In the world of authors...
Yes.
How do you think that guy's regarded?
Do you want to see it, darling?
When they're all getting together and all the authors are meeting up...
Yeah.
Some of them are discussing their new ideas, and he comes along and tries to talk to them as an equal. I'm working on a new book as well. Yeah, I bet you are.
Yeah. So that's the heaviest reading material in the world. According to the Guinness Book of Records, the smallest book in the world is called Teeny Ted from Turnip Town. It is by 2 brothers, Malcolm Douglas Chaplin and his brother Robert Chaplin, and it is a 30-page book carved on a pure crystalline silicon page. It measures just 70 micrometres by 100 micrometres, so it was etched using an ion beam at a university in Canada. So basically it fits on the width of a single human hair. I know, isn't that... And what it says on there, if you read it, it says, Teeny Ted from Turnip Town, a success story by Malcolm Douglas Chaplin, B.A.
That's how you make all the magazines weigh less.
Yes. Anyway, you need a scanning electron microscope in order to be able to read this. There is a large print copy, but if you wanted a small one, it cost you about £10,000. But I expect you could keep that if you're really keen.
Yes, please.
Nighttime reading.
Oh, can I have it?
Colour in all the zeros.
Yeah. You can
I'd love to do that.
read it while eating a bowl of Cheerios, Bridget.
Could you not play Twister?
They're far apart.
Oh, Twister's OK?
Circles have to be close together and exactly the same size.
So you could eat a crumpet?
I don't like crumpets.
Right.
I start to get the headache, and then I think, it's OK, it's really tasty, and they're not all the same size.
With a
and next to
crumpet,
each
I
other.
always think something might have gone in those holes. I mean, if you were that size, that's irresistible, isn't it?
I don't know what you're looking at me for.
Would any part of you fit into a hole of a crumpet, do you think?
I think it's too personal. We're going to move on. Right, new question. Which is my favourite quality street?
Are we going to guess and all the klaxons will go? Green Triangle.
Purple one.
A little bit of...
Toffee pennies. The toffee penny is my... Yeah.
The blue one that no one eats.
I reckon this is a trick.
It's not chocolates at all.
Not chocolate at all, is it?
It isn't chocolates. It's a play by J.M. Barrie called Quality Street. It's a 4-act comedy, and it was a huge hit in London. It opened in 1901, played for 495 performances. It's still done today. It concerns Phoebe. She's in her early 30s. She's still unmarried. And her former love, the Captain Brown, returns from the Napoleonic Wars, and she's very worried that he won't love her anymore. So she disguises herself as a younger girl in order to impress him. So the theme of staying young, J.M. Barrie uses it again later on in Peter Pan. The actress who very first starred in this was called Maud Adams. She was the first person to play the lead role in Quality Street, and she went on to be the first Peter Pan on Broadway. In fact, I think she played Peter Pan more than 1,500 times. She was a superstar in her day, one of the very first actors to earn more than $1 million a year, which at the time...
That's a lot.
It's an astonishing amount of money. And she was also an inventor. She assisted with the development of colour photography because she wanted to be able to capture things properly that she'd done on stage and capture them on film. She's amazing. Probably a lesbian.
What?
Yes. Buried
Tell
next...
by the pan pipe.
Yeah, you can. She's buried next to her secretary, who was her secretary for more than 40 years, Louise Boynton. I mean, it may just be that the secretary was busy and booked a double plot. I don't know. There we are together. How is Wendy Darling related to Long John Silver?
Fictional characters.
No, there's a sort of... there's an actual sort of connection. What do you know
this
about-
is annoying, this is.
Is it? Why, darling?
Because I've been told a fact about Wendy.
Go on, then.
And I've forgotten it.
Ah.
And I know it's going to be that.
Yes.
Very frustrated.
The character Wendy is based on a real girl who was unable to say friend, so she used to refer to J.M. Barrie as her Wendy, because friendy, Wendy, she used to say Wendy.
Yeah.
So it's called Margaret Henley. So we have Wendy and we have Margaret Henley, the original that Wendy was based on, and that is her father, William Ernest Henley, right next to her, best known for writing the poem Invictus. And Henley lost his leg to TB when he was aged 12. He was also friends with Robert Louis Stevenson, who is the next person in the picture, who immortalised him in Treasure Island by turning him into Long John Silver. So in a way, Wendy from Peter Pan was the daughter of Long John Silver. That's a really sweet connection, isn't it? I love that. There are 4 streets in the UK called Quality Street. There's one in Merstham, so named when the 2 original stars of the West End production of Quality Street moved there, and all the other 3 are in Scotland. And as far as we've been able to work out, there are no shops on any street called Quality Street which sell Quality Street chocolates. But the chocolate selection is named after the play. John and Violet Mackintosh, who invented this new style of toffee in 1936, used the characters from the play on the packaging.
It's an arrogant advert, isn't it? I am John Mackintosh, the Toffee King.
You should do a character of a toffee king.
Yeah.
I should, shouldn't
Exactly like
A little
that.
toffee hammer.
I? Yes.
Can you still get that? A
Oh, you must
toffee
be
with a
able to
hammer?
get... If you can get a book with all zeros in it, you can get a toffee hammer still, right? I want more sweet... I want a fudge hammer.
Why would you have a fudge hammer? That would just make a big dent.
Quite satisfying to hit some fudge with a hammer. Maybe more satisfying than the toffee.
Which did a survey in 2018, and they found that chocolate selections always have fewer of the ones that people actually like. So they asked about 1,000 people to name their favourite. The two most popular Quality Street chocolates are the purple ones and the green triangles. And these should appear, by preference, 11 times in the box, and they actually appear just 5 to 6 times.
Oh.
And it's the same with Heroes, Whispers, Twirls.
No wonder this country's the way it is. Most uninspiring country in the world.
Okay.
Just the green one, please. The green triangle that doesn't really taste of anything.
Do you not have favourites?
I hit the toffee finger, I hit the caramel. Those
They're
ones
the
are
same.
delicious. They are not the same, that's racist. The toffee one's a lot firmer, the caramel one's nice and soft. Give that to an old man with dentures, ask him if they're the same.
I just didn't expect, when I started on this show, that I would watch James call Bridget a racist.
Absolutely appalling what you just said about toffee fingers and caramel cups.
I like that everybody's got a line that they draw somewhere. Right, here we go. Which is quicker, a jiffy or 2 shakes?
2 shakes.
2 shakes of a winkle's tail, isn't it?
Lamb.
Lamb.
My brain used to say a winkle.
A winkle?
Alan, I'd like to hear some other things your nan said.
Which is quicker, a jiffy or 2 shakes? What do you
Jiffy.
reckon? Well, it depends on the type of jiffy.
A really quick one.
It's got to be 2 shakes.
Well, they're both genuine units of time. So a shake is the time it takes for 1 step in a nuclear chain reaction. It's about 10 billionths of a
I
second.
forgot to mention my grandma's a nuclear physicist.
No, you didn't. So a nuclear chain reaction typically takes 50 to 100 shakes. What?
God, I'm going to get this really wrong.
Go on, then.
Go on, then. We'll enjoy it.
Comes some more racism, I imagine.
I think a jiffy is something to do with light or...
Well, there are different kinds of jiffies.
Oh.
Of it, I'm afraid. So
yes.
a shake is to do with nuclear reaction, and like lots of the terminology, it derives from the Manhattan Project, which was during the Second World War, and comes from the expression 2 shakes of a lamb's tail. We don't actually know why people say 2 shakes of a lamb's tail. It's a bit like, I don't know, faster than you can say Jack Robinson. So different kinds of jiffies in electronics. A jiffy is the period of an alternating current power cycle. So typically that would be a 60th or a 50th of a second. And in physics, it is the time it takes for light to travel 1 Fermi, which you knew, presumably.
Yes,
It's
I did.
approximately the width of a proton. So you were absolutely heading in the right direction. Now, what letter did the Romans use to write the number 1,000?
Oh, hang on.
Q.
No? Anybody know in the audience?
Ah, idiots.
So M not used to mean 1,000 until the Middle Ages. Not used by the Romans at all.
The Middle Ages called at the time.
Now. Why did the Romans not use it for 1,000? What was the reason, do you think?
They couldn't count that far.
They didn't need to. They hardly used that many large numbers. When they did, they used an I in brackets. There was a monument erected in the Roman Forum to commemorate a victory in the First Punic Wars, and on the column you can see an I and lots of brackets, and it is repeated at least 22 times. There may be more, but it represented the 2,200,000 bronze coin that they looted in the Carthaginian Wars, which obviously they wanted to celebrate. Later on, to write 1,000 in Roman numerals, they used an X inside a circle. And later still, they used the Greek letter phi.
Now, like an eye in brackets, that's an emoji for a butt.
Is it?
Yeah, you bracket, line, bracket.
Why would you send that?
Spice up some dying relationship.
I've just done it on a picture here so I can see. Yeah, it doesn't look like a bottom to me. Then eventually they had the 8 on its side, which has evolved into our symbol for infinity. And finally, the M was adopted in the Middle Ages, probably from the Latin mille for 1,000. So we learn at school to write the number 9 as... IX. The audience get that one. There's a point for the audience for that one. But also that rules comes from the Middle Ages, I'm afraid. So the Romans used a mixture of contractions. So they might put one X like this, but they might also put V and 4 I's like that. And you still see it on clock faces and watches. And actually, I think it's rather beautiful. And you see there the 4 I's for the number 4. And I think it's rather beautiful because if you use the 4 I's like that, so the first 4 numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, all have those beautiful I's in them. The next 4 are the only ones with V's in it, and the next 4 are the only ones with X's in it. So actually, to look at it, it's rather beautiful. Big Ben actually breaks this convention. The 4 is I and V. But anyway, the Romans tended to do maths on an abacus rather than actually write it down. But let's have a go at doing maths with Roman numerals. It's actually easier than you think. We should have some boards there with some Roman numerals.
Do we need this?
No, darling. Can you write out for me in Roman numerals, first of all, 16, and then...
16, Bridge, 16.
16, and then below it, the number
Good,
8,
good.
please.
Good, correct. 8, Bridge, come on, Bridge.
Yeah, all right.
Done it?
Yes.
OK.
16.
16.
So what I'm looking for is I'm looking for 16, which is XV1. I'll just do it with these people. OK. OK.
If I showed that to anyone,
Yeah.
I'd say, what's that? They'd go, 16, because it says 16.
They would say, that says 16, and I'm not a Roman. Good luck finding some Romans to read that for you.
OK. So I want you to add those two things together. So we've got XV1 and V111. So here's what you do. There's a really simple way of doing it. First, put all of the letters from the two numbers together in a single row.
Like that.
Yeah. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to put them in numerical order, largest on the left. So it's going to go X and V and V, and then I want you to simplify it. So V and V together makes what in Roman?
10.
Remove those and put an X. Stick the X there, and there you have the answer. It is 24.
24.
It's actually really
Previously
simple.
on 24.
Isn't that brilliant?
See, now I feel a bit guilty that we were silly, because I would have learnt something there. And...
I led him astray, to be fair.
Did you? I'm afraid extra points to both Bridget and Caroline for that.
How old are you, darling?
53.
They introduced Roman numerals at the end of BBC programmes in 1976. Why do you think they did that? There you are, there's one right there. Why did they do that?
Inform, entertain, educate.
One theory is it was to confuse the viewer so you wouldn't know you were watching a repeat. There's another theory is that it comes from the film industry. So physical film can degrade over time and it makes it difficult to read numeric values, and Roman numerals are easier to read when film degrades. But I prefer the idea that it's fooling us all, that we haven't seen Dad's Army before. Now, what is the biggest thing you could buy with a quid?
is it a whale? Pound sterling?
Yes?
We've visualised the shelves in Poundland. Don't remember any whales there.
You can get an ironing board. Something like that.
Think about football.
A football club?
Oh.
Not Aston Villa or someone like that.
Chelsea Football Club, Ken Bates bought it for £1 in 1982. He later, Bates sold the club to Roman Abramovich in 2003 for 140 million. Today it's estimated to be worth 1.5 billion. Other companies that have been bought for £1, British Home Stores, Barings Bank, Reader's Digest, Homebase. It doesn't have to be £1. When Rover was sold to BMW, it was 10 quid. But you have to have something. It's a legal necessity in a contract. It's called a consideration. Something has to be paid. It used to be known as the peppercorn, like peppercorn rent. Bath University still pays an actual peppercorn to the city as ground rent.
What?
Yeah, it's... What?
How does that
Have you
work?
woken up? What happened? When you have a legal contract, if I'm going to sell you this card, you must give me something for it.
A pen.
All right, there you are. That's it, and I'll have the pen. Actually, it's quite nice. Thank you.
No, they're the old answers. Are they physically doing it still? Are the university actually going to
To the city and
giving them a peppercorn?
It's become a sort of ritual.
Do you think the peppercorns get used?
I like that the city might be building up to a whole mill.
Yeah.
The new 12-sided pound coin, it's got a number of features that make it more difficult to counterfeit. Anybody know what they might be?
Is it a weight thing?
No, it's a kind of hologram. So if you look, this is just below the Queen's head, and if, depending on the light, it either says 1 or a pound symbol. If you can you see? Just if you flip the coin. Ooh, it's a good noise from everybody.
Noise.
Ooh.
That's all the forgers. Coachload of forgers in. Oh!
According to the Royal Mint, there is a hidden security feature, but obviously we don't know what it is. The reverse of the new pound coin was designed as part of a competition. There were thousands of entries. People suggested...
A child made it.
It was a child, a 15-year-old David Pearce from Walsall. People suggested teacups and, I don't know, rain clouds and the London Eye and Rolling Stones' tongue and lips and all that kind of thing.
Cock and ball. The missed opportunity.
He got his design on 1.5 billion coins and won £10,000. And actually, if you look very closely at the coins, you can see DP... There it is, at the bottom of the design. He actually got his initials on the coin. I like this. His response after winning the competition was, honestly, I'm not too fussed about it all. My friends are more excited than me. It's just something I did once, you know.
That's false modesty.
It is, right. Now it's time to pound our guests into submission with the coin toss that we call general ignorance. Fingers on buzzers, please. Oh. What are skid marks made from?
0.
Poo.
Good to get it out of the way, isn't it?
Tyres.
Rubber.
So we're talking about skid marks on the road. It's actually caused by the bitumen heating up rather than any tyre rubber being laid down. Yeah. So as the car's brakes stop the wheels from turning, the friction between the tyres and the surface results in high temperatures that cause the tar to melt along with the bitumen, and the bitumen oils in the asphalt, they rise to the surface, and once the surface cools down, the skid marks will just fade away. So the technical term for a skid mark is a bituminous material smear.
That sign, I've always wondered, how is it possible for that skid mark to be produced by that vehicle?
It'd be quite a swerve, wouldn't
Yeah.
it?
That's Mr. Wibble's car. Oh, boy!
Anybody know where the word skid comes from?
Scandinavia.
It is a randy Scandi fact. It comes from the old Norse word skid, which just means a stick of wood. So it referred to the piece of wood that used to be laid down to help move logs. They used to use skids to move things downhill. People who lived on Skid Row were originally the loggers. People who hit the skids, so it's about going downhill. Yeah. The Open University offers a course called Analysing Skid Marks. Apparently an important skill in motor crash forensics.
I do that every Monday, Sandy. Monday's wash day.
Fine, I see, OK. You can get different types of skid marks.
With blood or without?
Do you know what's the first citation in the OED for skid marks referring to stained underwear? It's Barry Humphries in one of his Barry Mackenzie private eye cartoons published in 1968. Yeah.
I've got a poster of him on my wall.
Got a wall?
Yeah, I've got a wall. Doing pretty well these days. Saving up for some more walls.
How high is it?
It's a pretty long wall, actually. It's very
Put a corner
long.
in it. Put a corner in it.
Yeah, Trump's trying to buy it off me. He ain't going to get it. No way.
Anyway, moving on. Now, how many trees are there in this picture?
Here we go, it's the trick.
It's going to be one, isn't it?
6.
What did you say?
0.
What did you say?
1.
Absolutely right. There is one tree. You are entirely correct.
No. Look how many... trees.
It's called the...
This show is a scam.
It's called the Trembling Giant, or Pando, and it looks like an enormous grove of quaking aspens, but it's actually a single organism, and it may be up to 1 million years old. Wow. It is one of the great wonders of the United States. It lies in Utah, and it's actually a male organism, but it produces asexually, so it's reproducing new stems underneath from the roots, and each of the 47,000 or so stems that are there are genetically identical. Unfortunately, it hasn't been growing for 30 to 40 years. It's possibly thought to be dying. It's possibly the largest organism on Earth by weight.
Is it not protected? What...
It is, and they're doing their best to try and save
okay.
it. But you get grazing animals that eat the new shoots. So when old trees die, new ones are not replacing them, which is what used to happen. Right. But the roots are thought to be at least 80,000 years old. Some people have suggested it could be 1 million years old. I think it's the most beautiful thing and very worth visiting while it's still there. Who wrote the Haydn quartets?
Oh, no.
No? Yeah.
Haydn.
Seis.
Yeah.
I didn't say that!
Yeah, Bridget said it.
Did you say Haydn?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
Said it with a sneery tone because he's foreign.
Yeah.
No, it was dedicated to Haydn, written by Mozart.
I was going to say Ed Sheeran.
So Haydn was kind of a mentor for Mozart. Haydn didn't actually invent the quartet, but when he was about 18, he was asked by a man called Baron Fürnberg to come up with something that 4 amateurs could play at home. That's how string quartets began. Anybody know why Haydn's symphony, number 45, is called the Farewell Symphony?
He wrote it at a bus stop.
I want it to be there. Well, there's a Hungarian prince called Nicholas I, and he had gone to his summer palace and he'd brought the orchestra, but he had stayed way longer than anybody thought was sensible. So they asked Haydn if he could drop not such a subtle hint. So in the final adagio, each musician in turn gets up, snuffs out a candle on his music stand and leaves the room until all that is left is the 2 violins, and apparently the prince got the message and they went home the next morning, which I...
That's very cool.
It's lovely. What type of tool is used to make jigsaw puzzles?
A jigsaw. Get it over with, Bridget.
So, today, jigsaws are actually made with lasers or rolling presses, but when jigsaw puzzles were first introduced, they were obviously made with a...
Fudge hammer.
Jigsaw.
No, not made with a jigsaw at all. They've never been made with a jigsaw. The jigsaw was not invented until the 1850s, and the first puzzle we would recognise as a jigsaw was 1762. But even then, it was made with a fret saw.
Why was it called a jigsaw?
The term first came from a London engraver called John Spilsbury, but they were actually called dissected puzzles to begin with. He made a map on wood and cut out around the countries, and it was to give children the opportunity to learn all the different countries. My favourite thing, I love this fact, a jigsaw puzzle manufacturer typically uses the same cutting pattern for lots of different puzzles. So if you buy 2 puzzles of the same size from the same manufacturer with 2 different pictures, you can mix and match and still make a puzzle. And there's an art professor called Mel Andringa who uses this to make extraordinary puzzle montages. Have a look at this picture.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that great?
I'd frame that.
You'd frame
I'd
that?
frame it and put it on my wall.
I think it's fantastic. The jigsaw puzzle was invented before the jigsaw, which brings us to the puzzling matter of the scores. In last place, my goodness, it's very good, with minus 42. It's Alan. Next with minus 14, it's Joe.
I tried.
Climbing up to 3rd place with minus 13, Bridget. In 2nd place with minus 12 is James. But this week's winner with minus 9, it's the audience! Thanks to our guests, James, Joe, Bridget and Alan. I leave you with this quality quotation from the American columnist and author Alice Kahn. For a list of all the ways technology has failed to improve the quality of life, please press 3. Goodbye.